Thank you, everybody, for joining. This is Michael Mosier, the Business Development Manager and Client Relation Manager here at Twin State Tech. And every month we do an event free about educating customers and friends about technology and industry, what's happening and what you should know, and try to consolidate it into something meaningful and something that can have an action so that you can take away a good thought and then actually improve your business or your current state with the information we're going to share. And who's going to share that information today is Kathy White. Kathy White has decades of experience in IT for business of large and small scale. And what Kathy has done is really taken her experience and focused it for businesses that are that small to medium size. So that means anywhere from 5 computers or people working in your business up to 250. So we're taking a timeout to focus on that small to medium sized business because we feel that sometimes the attention isn't on them and times are tough. We've got some great ways of helping out that small to medium sized business, and Kathy's going to tell us about it today. So Kathy, if you'd like, I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Thanks, Micah. Well, good morning, everyone. We are very excited to be here with you this morning and have some good things to talk about. And, you know, as Micah said, we deal with lots and lots of customers. I've dealt with a lot of customers and companies over the years. And today we want to talk about the 5 common things that cause IT downtime. And as you guys all know, downtime relates to poor customer service, not being able to bill, loss of revenue, loss of employee productivity. So it's very important that we keep those servers, workstations, everything running. We're pretty dependent on technology today. So 5 things that cause IT downtime and are easy to fix, and that's what we're going to cover today. Cybersecurity, you know, it's all over the media. It's got to be something that we're paying attention to, and those are breaches, those are viruses. We're going to get in and talk a little bit more about cybersecurity, but it impacts the small business as well as the large business. So no more is it that everyone has to pay attention to it. End user incidents. This is, a user might accidentally click on an email. It causes a virus. You know, we see that with some of the largest breaches, but we see it every single day. So we have to train our users on what's a good email and what's not a good email. Lack of IT standards implemented. In your environment, we are very much a believer in being proactive and having standards, certain basic standards to keep your environment secure, stable, and productive. And an example of an IT standard might be a firewall. Do you have a firewall? That is an example you might have bought at Best Buy or online. Or do you have a firewall that's really for a business that's configured appropriately to keep the bad guys out? And a firewall is that. It's a device that looks at your traffic coming in and out of your organization, and it keeps people out that shouldn't be in your environment. Outdated software. This is a big one. I think this is one, that people really don't think about. Microsoft, Adobe, third-party applications, even your application software vendors, they update with patches. And this is something that the patches have security fixes. They have fixes for the software, and they also increase performance. And this is something that we can do automatically, and so that those patches go out. And then hardware failures. Do you have old hardware? Do you have old servers? Do you have old workstations? Those impact things running smoothly. So we're going to talk about those 5 key areas, and we're going to talk about automating them and monitoring them. And monitoring them and automating them is a proactive approach to solve the problems before they happen. And all of these areas have a lot of risk, as we know. And cybersecurity, lots of risk, loss of data, loss of your business. If you lose your data, you lose all your client history, you lose all your transaction data. many times it's hard to recover from that. Encrypted data. In the financial and in the healthcare world and in the government world, there are regulatory fines for things like HIPAA. End users, lack of productivity. If we have downtime, we have a risk of our important people. Our people are our most expensive resource, and we need to keep the tools in their hands at all times. Another risk for an end user is lack of IT support, waiting for IT support. So it's very important that they can call or they can email immediately and get some help when they have an issue to keep moving and keep producing. Basic IT standards, antivirus, anti-spam, you need to have a good firewall, good passwords, and good backup. And the risk is if you don't have any of those, you are at a significant risk. And those we see as very essential basic things for every environment, whether you have 2 users or whether you have thousands of users.
There's so many different ways to solve these problems. I think that's what really complicates things, is that these are 5 simple ways, and you're probably thinking, well, how do you fix all these things in 30 minutes? It's impossible, right? It takes some research. All of these products have, remember McAfee and Norton? I mean, all of these, the best of the best change every 3 years. So it takes some understanding and awareness of what is coming out, what's the best products and tools to use to even automate and monitor some of this stuff.
I want to talk about some real life examples, and these are things that happen every day at Twin States. And the first one was money theft. We had a small manufacturer in their accounting department. They got an email from their CEO saying that they should send $20,000 to a supplier. And this is called CEO fraud. And actually the check was cut. It was caught before it went out. But this is one of the big scams that's happening right now. And if the user would have been trained to look for the right thing, that may not have happened. Another incident is no data backup. So everybody thinks they're backing up their data. Everybody feels like they've got a backup. This happens regularly. We have a new customer that had a server failure, and they went to go to their backup, and their backup was empty. They thought that it was backing up, and it wasn't backing up. So there's a need for proactively restoring that backup, on a regular basis to make sure the backup is actually happening.
I think with the small and medium-sized business too, you might have a great backup on January 1st, 2020. But as you are nimble in making changes and adding, new applications, maybe because you needed it that day, if you're not proactively thinking about those on a regular basis, we can be missing those in the backup. So your backup that's perfect day 1 might need to be changed in month 6.
That's right. This is a common one, and this is phishing. This is somebody sending an email, and somebody clicks on it within the organization, again, accidentally, and it sends a malicious virus or sends an agent in to corrupt your data. So corrupting your data means that you can't get into it. It locks it in a box, and nobody can get to it except the person that locked it. And what these people do then, they ask for you to pay them to unlock your data. Or you come to Twin States, and we have tools that we can unlock your data. So in most cases you don't actually have to pay the
ransom,
the bad guy, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the bills are big. I mean, one that a couple months ago that we had, there was a bill of $3,600 and a loss of 3 days to get them back up and running. We talked about neglecting Microsoft updates to patching. That's something that is very important, that they patch those security holes that allow people to get in. And a legal practice had an old server that was still connected to to the network and it wasn't patched and their client information was compromised. And if in the state of Iowa, if your client information is compromised, over 500 people, you have to report that to the state. But what it also does is it creates it creates people knowing that you have been breached as a legal firm.
Like a lack of trust.
And a lack of trust, yeah. And your, I'm sorry, the word I was looking for was reputation. I'm sorry, reputation. So, and then finally, with the pandemic, not being prepared to work at home, not having a remote work policy, we helped many new companies get up and running. And that's part of standard practice for us with our customers. When the pandemic happened, most of our customers were just fine. They just kept right on working because we had set up a secure tunnel for them to work at home or work anywhere where they needed to work. So, why Flex IT? As Micah said, I've been in the industry for around 35 years and worked a lot with companies in IT, worked with managed services, working with companies to implement managed services. And one of the things at Twin States is that Twin States really cares about the small business. They really care about the local business. They care about nonprofits. And so we wanted to create something for small businesses under 25 users that we feel have been left behind in the IT support world. Now, Flex IT has the name Flex IT because it is flexible, and if you're larger than 25 users, the components we're going to talk about today are applicable to that as well. But in my experience, the current managed services plans are too expensive. They're not simple enough for the small user. They're not flexible, and they don't offer all the services for IT, like web, like programming, like implementation services. They don't go beyond just the help desk included in their plans. Most small companies are time and material, they're reactive, and they're solving the problems after the fact, and that gets very expensive. And like we said, it causes downtime. COVID-19, security threats, the economy, the recent storm that we had, right? Hurricane winds have really driven the need for you all to take care of your business, but to take care of it with a cost-effective solution. And that's what we feel that we have something that's affordable. Small organizations are impacted just like big organizations. So I think many of us think, and it's easy to think that, we're in Iowa, I'm a small organization, there's nobody looking at me. I'm kind of exempt from all those other people. And really, it is not true. What's happening is these hackers and these people that do this are going more after the small organizations because they know they do not have the standards in place and they don't have the security in place like the big organizations do. The big organizations, have put a lot of money. So we've invested the money for you in those tools to help you do just like the big organizations do. IT has become very complex. It used to be, maybe somebody that knew a little bit about technology could run the technology in a company. But today, for all the reasons that we've talked about, it's become complex and it requires many skill sets and many tools as well. If you have a person that's talented in IT, if you have someone that you've hired for IT in your organization, that is super. But what we're finding is that person is so busy with helping users, maybe doing custom reports, working on business applications, working with the management team on strategic initiatives, that they don't have time for the back end, the security, the backup, all those things that we do on a regular basis. So it's a huge relief if someone does have IT, for us to take that over and free them up versus maybe hiring somebody else.
I was going to say, if you're a small and medium-sized business and you have either a resident IT person, or you have a dedicated IT person, or you have someone that you typically call in when you have an urgent need, managing some of these core functionalities like antivirus, what version software is, backups, those are things that need to be managed and watched closely, really at all times. So what we're talking about is monitoring all of these things 24/7 so that we can proactively prevent downtime. And what that does for those IT experts that you have is free them up to really do impactful things for your business and not have to worry about some of those core things that take so much time and attention away from what they could really be focusing on.
IT requires planning and budgeting to be successful. One of the things that I have seen in the industry that has been left out in many of these plans is planning and budgeting. And I think from a small business organization, it's just as important as a large, because you want to plan the expenditures, you want to plan the upgrades, so that you can plan, your money outlay for not only IT, but everything else you're doing within your business. So we feel like planning and budgeting is critical, no matter what size organization that you are. So let's talk about Flex IT, and let's talk about the building blocks that we put in place to come up with an offering. The first is cybersecurity, and that would include antivirus and a web filter product and monitoring that at all times, patching Windows and third-party applications, monitoring that at all times, and actually doing the patching on a regular schedule. User security awareness training. This is something that we actually have a user security awareness process. So we do some phishing within your environment. So we play like we do some testing, like we're the bad guy, and send a couple emails out and see how people respond to it. And then that creates a baseline for your company. And then we have a 45-minute video that it's mandatory for everybody to take in the organization. And then throughout the year, we do some phishing tests just to make sure that people know what's a bad email, what's a good email. So it's been very effective.
Yeah, I was going to say statistically, we have seen this. Statistically, when we send out our first baseline test, 27% of a business will fail, meaning they'll click the link or they'll take the bait. But after this training and after our process, in 12 months, we will take that 27% down to less than 3%. And who stays in the 3% are typically your most busy people and your executives that are trying their hardest to work from their phones and everywhere, but this really can cut down the risk.
And then a huge component is that we configure your backup on-site and off-site in the cloud. So we come in, we do the backup, make sure it's running correctly. We're monitoring that backup every single day to make sure it runs complete. And then we're also sending that backup in case there was a disaster, a fire, or a hurricane or something, off-site into the cloud to restore in case there's an emergency. Another important building block is monitoring and management. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. On-site proactive visits. This is another thing that, along with the roadmap and budgeting, we think is very important. So not only remotely are we monitoring, but we're also coming on site for proactive visits. So we're coming on site to talk with you and say how's things going. We provide a full set of documentation, and we're updating that documentation in that proactive visits. And then we actually have a health check. A couple things on the health check would be checking the antivirus to make sure it's actually configured properly and all the sensors are out. It would be actually restoring a backup. So proactively looking at the environment on site to make sure things are working as they're supposed to be working. Help desk for Flex IT, we've included adds, moves, deletes for new users, for And also, we have included managing your Office 365 or your G Suite with adding users or moving users or deleting users. The planning I was talking about is the roadmap and budgeting. And then we're including 20 hours of services for anything you want. That could be implementation of a workstation. It can be help desk. It can be a new website. Any sort of services that you'd like to use, you can use with that bank of 20 hours. We have chosen some award-winning vendors, and we are very proud of this. So when you go out and get some of these products for your environment, you're getting one for one. What we did is we went out and looked for products and put them as part of our recipe. So they all work together. They all work in concert with one another and create a dashboard that we can effectively monitor and manage it. Proofpoint is a award-winning. It's for email, spam filtering, encryption, email archiving. Fortinet is our go-to for a firewall, and Gartner is a consulting firm that does studies every single year. They're the leader in small to medium-sized business firewalls with their unified threat management. They're a leader in enterprise firewalls. They're really the best of the best for security. And then KnowBe4 is the world leader in security awareness training. We use Stateoftheart Tools. We use nCentral, NPRTG, and that helps us with our automation of our antivirus, of our patching, looking at your backup, looking at anything's down. So if something's down, you got a server down, we're going to know before you do. If you have an internet circuit down, and we're going to be calling you and say, hey, we're working on it. We can see there's some problems you're having. So I'm going to briefly just go over what FlexIT includes, and then of course we would want to get together with you and talk about your environment. But so FlexIT includes these essential pieces for one fixed monthly cost. We'll implement and monitor antivirus on all your servers and workstations. We'll implement and monitor patching for your operating systems and third-party applications, like Adobe would be an example of that. We'll set up a web filter to monitor the traffic that your users are. We can shut off sites and open up sites depending on what you want. Like if you don't want anybody on Facebook, we can close that down. If you want everybody on Facebook. Email anti-spam. Again, this is protecting your environment from malicious attacks or viruses. We're monitoring your server. We're monitoring all your network devices, your internet circuit. We're implementing and monitoring on-site and off-site backup. The user moves, adds, and changes like we talked about, and the managing your productivity licenses. One thing that we haven't talked about is that we actually have tools where we can scan quarterly your environment from a network standpoint and from a security standpoint to look for any anomalies, to look for anything that's out of best practice. We have a report. We can show you that report, and we email that report to you once a quarter. And of course, if there's an issue, we're going to let you know that. The security awareness training, we will support your existing remote worker capabilities. We will check and see what you're using. If during the onboarding process, if there's something there that we feel needs to be secured or needs easier for your users, we're going to make recommendations in that area. The biannual meeting for budgeting and roadmap, so the planning. Proactive engineering visit biannually, so that's the proactive visit. You'll always have full documentation on your network. That is your documentation to keep, and 20 hours of support. So our goals, and we've really thought about this, and we feel like we've really put a magical solution together, is proactive support. is to give you peace of mind. Let us take over those things for you so that you can sleep well at night. Increase your productivity, enable the goals of the organization. We have over 50 employees at Twin States, and we want to help you with your business. Technology is only an enabler. We're interested in knowing your business, learning your business, and helping you thrive in that business. We want it to be affordable. We want to work with you, and we want to do planning and budgeting with you. So next step, discovery, we'd like to set up a call and talk to you a little bit about and discover, your environment. There's only a few things that we need to know to put a proposal together to give you an idea of the monthly fixed cost. It doesn't take us time at all. We have a calculator that we use. So we would love to do that for you, and really just, you can let us know right now, or you can shoot us an email and let us know, that you'd like to do that.
That was great, Kathy. I think, what you've described is taking what enterprise level businesses have to do, wrapping it up into a really simple, digestible pill for small businesses to be able to swallow and afford. And it really does solve a lot of problems that, if you're not watching for right now, are probably going to nip you in the rear later on. Because on average, every 3 years, a business will have some sort of IT problem that is expensive, right? So that's one thing that we're trying to avoid. Budget and planning, so that way everybody knows exactly what's coming down the pike so we can plan for it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, everybody. This is perfect timing. I'll leave it open for another minute. If you have any questions, feel free to unmute and ask, or if you'd like to throw a chat, I'm looking at that too. And if not, I hope everyone has a great rest of their week and enjoys the weekend. Thanks, and we'll talk to you soon.